Well, this is the part where we put objectivity totally out the window because this is my old friend Sandra Brown, the best-selling novelist. How many bestsellers have you actually had?
59.
59.
As of August.
And
59.
your new book is?
Tough Customer.
Tough Customer.
And it was my 59th.
59th bestseller on the New York Times list. So Sandra Brown knows how to write a book.
Well,
I think
thank
that's
you.
for sure.
Thank you.
You're in
I'm
town.
still learning. It's a learning curve.
What are you in town for?
I am in town to promote, number one, the National Book Festival, and number two, to promote a new show on one of the largest growing cable stations, Investigation Discovery. And it's a show called Hardcover Mystery. And I'm one of the authors who contributed a true crime that will be explored over the hour episode. So.
Now, you know, as somebody who's written books, I would no more know how to write a book of fiction, than I would know how to jump off a building. And I remember in your early days, you would sometimes have as many as 4 books going at one time, sometimes under different names. Where do you come up with these ideas?
Well, I sound like Sybil, don't I, with all of these different personalities and stories going on. Actually, now I just focus on the one. Mm-hmm. Because the books I'm writing now are so complex. You know, these mysteries are not easy to write. Generally, I kind of come up with an idea and play with it until it lets me know it wants to be a book. And that's the important thing. Not every idea does. So I keep playing with it, massaging it, until I get that voila moment when it all comes together. And then I know it's a story, not just an idea. And I kind of put my thoughts down and what the main characters are and what the initial conflict is going to be, put them in place, and then I don't want to know everything that happens. I want the surprises too, because I have to entertain myself as I go along.
I want to ask you this, because I find this sometimes as a kind of a minor league songwriter. When you write songs about things, sometimes you have to be ready to explain, even though they're fiction, you have to be ready to explain, well, no, this was not about you, and this might not be about you. You've been married for a long, long time. 43 years?
42.
42,
yes,
and I know
yes,
your husband, Michael, reads all your manuscripts.
Right.
How do you work that out?
Well, I'll be...
Because I know sometimes your books may be a little steamy.
A little saucy. He'll be reading along and he'll go, this is great, but we never did this. And I always say, well, that's why they call it fiction. You know, that's for the imagination. But, you know, you don't have to kill somebody to write a murder mystery. Yeah. So that's my out, Bob. That's how I always explain it.
You know, I like that. I think I can use that. How did you get into mysteries? Because you actually started out in television when you were very young.
Yes, I did. Well, I got fired from my job. I wasn't Bob Schieffer, and so I knew it was part-time, it was fun. But one day they came through, fired me. Thought, what am I going to do? And you know, my dad was a writer, a nonfiction writer, an editorial writer, but writing fiction was something I'd always wanted to do. And my husband, Michael, said, are you going to just keep talking about this? Or are you ever going to actually do it? And put in the form of kind of that challenge, I had to take up the mantle. And that's when I started writing. Yeah.
And you started with romance novels.
I started writing romances, and I built up a readership. But after a lot of romances, I decided I wanted to paint on a larger canvas. I wanted to start incorporating some elements that were not, you know, acceptable if you were doing the bona fide romances. So I started writing more suspense, and they've just kind of evolved over, you know, the course of the last 20 years. And so I guess now you call me a thriller writer, suspense. I don't really care about the title so much or the genre, because to me every book should be a thriller. You know, every book should thrill the reader, whether it's a Western, sci-fi, whatever.
How many books would you think you have in print now?
About 80 million worldwide.
In how many languages?
I'm published in 33 languages.
33 languages.
Yeah.
And it all started...
It's a dazzling number to me, too. I mean, I can't believe it, but I get the most fabulous letters from all over the world. You know, email has made that easy now.
Yeah.
And sometimes the spelling is a little rough, and sometimes the English, they always apologize, but they'll write from the most remote places. And it's so touching to me to know that I've communicated with a person in a totally different world from mine.
And it all began because you got such a great education at TCU.
At TCU, as one horned frog to another.
Well, it turns out to not only give people a good education these days, we've got a fairly good football team.
Oh, they do. I know.
It's really something.
Yeah.
Well, Sandra, it's great, and we wish you the best. The
Thank
National
you.
Book Festival is one of the great events in Washington.
It truly is. And this the show on investigation discovery, it premieres October 11th. My segment is on October 25th. And I think it's going to be a compelling show for the new fall season. I do.
Well, we wish you the very best.
Thank you.
Great to see you.
Always a pleasure.
All right.